My body is too big to procreate, said the huge dragon woman, but he impregnated her. In the distant reaches of the galaxy, on a planet called Zithuria, the sky glowed with two suns. Mountains of sparkling crystal rose from deep purple plains, and strange plants swayed even though there was no wind. The air was thick with energy, and every creature on Zithuria seemed larger than life. Among these giants lived Thalira, the last of the dragon women. She was enormous, with shining scales that reflected the sun's light in colors no human had names for. Her wings were vast, stretching like sails of ancient ships, and her tail could crush boulders with a single swing. She had survived countless dangers, from meteor storms to predatory beasts that roamed the purple plains, but Thalira carried a heavy burden. Her species was dying. For centuries, the dragon women of Zithuria had been the rulers of the skies. They had intelligence far beyond ordinary creatures and a culture built around science, knowledge, and protection of their planet. But over the last 100 years, their numbers had dwindled. Diseases, environmental collapse, and interstellar hunters had left Thalira as the sole guardian of her people's legacy. Thalira often flew over the crystal forests alone, feeling the weight of loneliness pressing down on her like a mountain. My body is too big, she thought, landing on the edge of a glowing cliff. I can survive, I can fight, but I cannot continue my species. Zithuria will die with me. Her eyes, the color of molten gold, gazed at the horizon where the suns dipped behind jagged mountains. In her solitude, she remembered stories from her elders about Zithuria's past. Her ancestors had once been explorers, reaching out to distant stars. They had studied the universe, created machines that could bend energy, and even communicated with alien civilizations. But they had also been proud, believing that nothing could touch them. Pride had become their downfall, leaving only Thalira. One day, as Thalira rested on a high plateau, she sensed a strange disturbance in the air. It was unlike anything she had felt before. The energy pulses of Zithuria were familiar to her, but this was foreign, like a vibration that did not belong to her planet. Curious and cautious, she spread her massive wings and soared toward the source. Above the northern Crystal Mountains, she found a ship unlike any she had seen. It was sleek, silver, and covered in strange glyphs that glowed faintly. From its hull, a human-shaped figure emerged. He was tall with dark hair, and his suit shimmered with protective energy. His presence was calm, confident, and somehow reassuring. Thalira descended, careful not to frighten him. She had lived with creatures that had tried to kill her at first sight, so she knew how to approach with caution. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice like a deep rumble that shook the rocks beneath her claws. The figure bowed slightly. "I am Kale, an explorer from the Solari Federation. I travel the stars seeking knowledge and helping worlds in danger." His voice was gentle but firm. "I mean no harm. I sensed your presence from afar. Your energy is unique. I have never felt anything like it." Thalira narrowed her golden eyes. "Unique. I am the last of my kind. There is nothing left here but me. What could you possibly offer?" Kale smiled faintly. "Perhaps more than you think. I study genetics and ecosystems. I help endangered species survive. I believe your people's knowledge and your very existence should not vanish." Thalira felt a flicker of hope, but also distrust. In her long life, she had seen many aliens promise help and then leave destruction behind. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, her tail curling around a crystal spire. "Everything I have known ends in betrayal." Kale held out a small device that glowed like a star trapped in a crystal. "Because I am not here for conquest or profit. I am here to preserve life. If you allow me, I can help your species continue in ways you may not have imagined." Thalira studied him carefully. She could sense the truth in his energy. Unlike most, he did not radiate fear or greed. There was intelligence and patience, and she realized with surprise a spark of courage that mirrored her own. For the first time in decades, Thalira allowed herself to consider the impossible. Maybe she was not entirely alone. Kale stepped closer. "I know it seems impossible. I know your body and your species have unique challenges, but there may be a solution. I have technology that can support reproduction in ways nature alone cannot. I only ask for your trust." Thalira exhaled a plume of smoke, her wings shivering slightly. She had spent centuries solving impossible problems, surviving floods of lava, storms, and hunting beasts. But this was a different kind of challenge. It required trust, not strength, cooperation, not combat. I will not promise, she said slowly, that your ideas will work, but I will listen. Tell me more. Kale nodded, a spark of relief crossing his face. We can start by understanding your species' biology. Your DNA carries unique energy patterns, and your physiology is unlike anything in the galaxy. But if we combine your natural abilities with advanced genetic stabilization, there may be a way to preserve your lineage. Thalira's eyes softened. You speak as if you already know the answer, but do you? Have you worked with species as formidable as mine? Kale shook his head. Never exactly like yours. But I have learned that the universe always offers a solution if one is willing to try and to adapt. Your species is strong, intelligent, and resilient. I have no doubt that together we can find a way. For the next several hours, Thalira and Kale stood on the plateau, sharing knowledge. She explained the history of the dragon women, the secrets of Zithuria, the ways her body adapted to survive the harsh planet. He shared ideas from distant worlds, experiments that had helped other endangered species, and the tools that might assist her. By the time the sun set and the sky turned a deep violet, Thalira felt something she had not felt in centuries: hope. It was fragile, like the first sprouts of a crystal plant emerging from the hardened soil, but it existed. Kale looked at her carefully. Tomorrow we begin. No promises, no guarantees, but we will try. Thalira nodded, her scales glinting in the twilight. She had fought alone for decades, and she had survived countless dangers. But this would be a different kind of battle, one that required trust, courage, and patience. As she spread her massive wings and prepared to rest for the night, Thalira realized something profound. She had not truly been alone after all. Perhaps the last chapter of her species was not yet written. Perhaps, with Kale's help, Zithuria's skies could once again be filled with dragon women. And somewhere deep in her heart, a quiet flame of determination burned. She would do everything in her power to ensure her people's legacy survived, no matter the challenge. The stars above shimmered as if acknowledging her resolve, and somewhere in the vastness of space, the universe waited for what would come next. The next morning, Zithuria's twin suns rose slowly over the crystal mountains. Their light painted the sky in shades of violet and gold, reflecting off the jagged cliffs like shards of fire. Thalira stirred from her resting place atop a high plateau, her massive wings stretching wide. She could feel the energy of the planet running through her veins, strong and ancient. But she also felt a new sensation, curiosity about the stranger who had come to her world. Kale was already waiting at the edge of the cliff, his equipment humming softly. The silver ship from yesterday glowed faintly in the morning sun, its glyphs shimmering like tiny stars. He greeted Thalira with a calm smile. "Good morning," he said. "Today we begin the first step." Thalira lowered her head and examined him carefully. "The first step is dangerous. If your methods fail, it could harm me." Her voice rumbled like distant thunder. "I cannot risk my life for experiments that may go wrong." Kale nodded. "I understand. That is why I came prepared. Nothing will be done without your control. You are the strongest and most important factor here. I am only the guide." She studied him for a long moment. His confidence was not arrogant. His calm presence reassured her. Perhaps she thought she could trust him. Perhaps this human was unlike any other alien she had met. They moved to a broad valley surrounded by crystal cliffs, where the energy of Zithuria pulsed most strongly. Kale set up his equipment, shimmering machines that hovered slightly above the ground, emitting soft glows of blue and green light. Some devices measured energy, others scanned biological structures, and one small capsule seemed capable of analyzing life on a molecular level. "First," Kale said, "we will study your DNA, your energy patterns, and how your body interacts with Zithuria's life force. This will allow us to understand what makes your species unique and how we can support it." Thalira lowered herself to the ground, careful not to break the fragile crystals beneath her claws. She extended her hand, and the machines began scanning her scales, wings, and claws. A soft hum filled the air, vibrating in tune with her heartbeat. Kale observed the readings, noting patterns and structures that had never been recorded in any database across the stars. "You are extraordinary," Kale said quietly. "Your energy is alive in ways I cannot fully explain. It interacts with the planet itself. Your species is not just strong, it is deeply connected to Zithuria." Thalira tilted her massive head. "We were always guardians," she said. "Our ancestors protected this world, nurtured it, and defended it. But now, she sighed, the sound echoing like rolling stones. Now it is only me. Kale studied her carefully. That is why we must try. We can combine science with your natural abilities. I believe your species can survive, but it will require courage, cooperation, and patience. For hours, they worked side by side. Thalira learned to manipulate the machines, focusing her energy in precise ways. Kale guided her gently, explaining the process in simple, clear terms. The machines responded to her power, amplifying it, analyzing it, and storing the data for later use. As the sun reached its highest point, the first scans were complete. Kale studied the results with a mixture of awe and concentration. Your DNA is unlike anything I've ever seen, he said. It is resilient, adaptive, and enormous in scope. I believe we can preserve your species, but it will require one more step. Thalira's golden eyes narrowed. And what is that? Kale hesitated, then explained carefully. We will need to combine your energy with a stabilizing process that allows new life to begin safely. It is not like humans or other species you may know. It is technical, scientific, and completely safe if done correctly. She listened, intrigued but cautious. Safe, you say. But what if it fails? It will not fail if we work together, Kale replied firmly. Your strength and connection to Zithuria are the key. My knowledge and machines are only support. Without you, nothing is possible. Thalira considered this. She had fought against monsters, survived storms, and faced hunters that had outnumbered her dozens to one. But this required trust, not strength, cooperation, not combat. Could she do it? She nodded slowly. Very well, we begin. The first part of the process involved focusing her energy into a crystal chamber Kale had prepared. The chamber was lined with reflective surfaces that enhanced her natural energy flow. Inside, the air shimmered, charged with power. Thalira approached, her massive claws careful not to scratch the walls. Kale adjusted the machines. When you are ready, concentrate on your life force, let it resonate with the chamber, breathe slowly, focus, and trust the process. Thalira stepped inside. The chamber responded immediately, glowing as her energy connected with the devices. Lights danced across the walls like liquid fire, and a low hum filled the air. Kale monitored the readings, adjusting settings to match her pulse and energy fluctuations. Hours passed. Thalira felt every nerve and scale in her body vibrate with energy. She had never experienced anything like this. The sensation was powerful, overwhelming, but not painful. It was as if she were reaching into the very core of Zithuria itself. Finally, the hum stabilized and the lights softened. Kale approached. It worked, he said, voice filled with wonder. Your energy is now stabilized and stored safely. We can now begin the next phase. Thalira stepped out of the chamber, exhausted but exhilarated. That was unlike anything I have ever felt, she said, wings trembling. It feels alive, the energy it sings with Zithuria. Kale smiled. Yes, and now we have the foundation. From here we can explore ways to safely support your species' continuation. But this is only the beginning. There will be challenges, obstacles, and moments of doubt. Thalira nodded, determination in her eyes. I have faced impossible odds before. I will face them again. If my species is to survive, I will do whatever it takes. Kale studied her, realizing how much courage and strength she carried, not just in her body, but in her spirit. Humans often relied on machines and technology, but Thalira reminded him of the power of life itself, the connection between a creature and its world, the courage to face extinction, and the determination to survive against all odds. As the suns began to set, casting long shadows across the Crystal Valley, Thalira and Kale prepared for the next day. Kale would introduce new techniques, designed to amplify her energy and create conditions where life could safely grow. Thalira would guide them with her intuition, her strength, and her knowledge of Zithuria. Yet even as they worked together, a shadow lingered in the distance. A fleet of alien scavengers had been observing Zithuria from orbit, drawn to the planet's energy. They saw not life worth protecting, but resources to exploit. Thalira sensed their presence long before Kale did. Her instincts, honed over centuries, told her danger was near. We are not alone, she said quietly, wings flicking nervously. Something watches us. Kale looked to the sky. I see them. We must remain vigilant, but do not worry. Together we are stronger than they know. Thalira's heart surged with resolve. She had fought alone for so long, but now she had an ally, one who respected her, learned from her, and shared her goal of survival. Together they would face the challenges ahead, protect Zithuria, and find a way to preserve her species. As night fell, the crystal valley glowed under the light of the twin moons. Thalira rested, her mind alive with possibilities, and Kale worked quietly, preparing for the next stage of their experiment. The battle to save a species had begun, not with weapons, but with trust, knowledge, and courage. And somewhere deep in the universe, forces both curious and hostile were watching, waiting to see whether the dragon woman and the human could succeed where so many others had failed. The next morning on Zithuria, the twin suns rose slowly, casting a golden glow across the crystal. Mountains. Thalira stretched her massive wings and flexed her claws. The valley below shimmered as if alive, reflecting the light in 100 different colors. But despite the beauty, a tension hung in the air. Thalira could feel it. Something was approaching. Kale was already at the base of the valley, adjusting his devices. "Good morning," he said calmly, though his eyes scanned the horizon. "We're ready for the next phase. Today we try the amplification process. It will boost your energy output in controlled ways." Thalira nodded. "I am ready." Her voice was steady, but her instincts warned her not to underestimate the day ahead. The previous experiments had been smooth, almost perfect. She knew that the universe rarely gave such things freely. As Kale activated the equipment, the valley filled with a soft hum. Tiny beams of energy danced across the crystal surfaces, reflecting in dazzling patterns. The machines were responding to Thalira's power, amplifying it safely and monitoring every fluctuation. Kale's fingers moved quickly, adjusting dials and settings to maintain stability. Thalira focused, drawing energy from deep within herself and from Zithuria itself. The chamber's glow intensified, bathing the valley in light. Her wings spread wide, her tail swishing rhythmically as her energy harmonized with the devices. Hours passed, and the amplification was progressing perfectly. Kale's data streams showed that her energy levels were higher than ever recorded. "Remarkable," Kale murmured. "Your connection with Zithuria is unlike anything I have ever seen. This amplification could allow life to flourish where it otherwise could not." But then, the first warning appeared. A flicker in Kale's instruments. A signal from orbit, a fleet of unknown ships moving swiftly toward Zithuria. Thalira stiffened. "I felt them," she said, her golden eyes narrowed as she scanned the sky. "They are coming. They want our energy, our planet, or perhaps both. We must prepare." Kale moved quickly, analyzing the fleet's trajectory. "They're scavengers, not just pirates. They harvest energy from planets like this. If they reach the valley, everything we've worked for will be destroyed." Thalira's massive wings unfurled. She lifted into the air, her powerful body slicing through the energy-charged wind. "Then we stop them," she said. "Zithuria is my home. I will defend it." Kale nodded. "And I will help. The machines can create protective barriers, disrupt their energy scanners, and give us time. But the real defense is you." The scavenger fleet emerged from orbit, dark and sleek against the colorful sky. Their ships were smaller than Zithuria's mountains, but their speed and numbers were frightening. They fired scanning beams toward the valley, searching for energy sources. Thalira roared, the sound echoing across the mountains, a warning and a challenge all at once. She dove toward the fleet, her wings generating gusts of wind strong enough to push the smaller ships off course. The aliens fired back, energy beams striking the crystals below, shattering them into glowing fragments. Kale activated the protective machines. A dome of shimmering energy rose around the valley, absorbing the impact of the beams and keeping Thalira safe. "Keep moving," he shouted. "The barrier won't hold forever." Thalira twisted and turned midair, using her size and strength to block several ships from approaching. Her tail swept in wide arcs, disabling 2 ships with a single strike. But there were too many of them. The scavengers adapted quickly, splitting into groups and surrounding her. Kale continued adjusting the machines, trying to maintain the amplification process. "Your energy is strong, Thalira. Focus it toward the fleet. Distract them long enough for the amplification to complete." She gritted her teeth, feeling the strain in her wings and muscles. Her golden scales shimmered with energy, brighter than ever before. Concentrating, she projected waves of energy outward, pushing back the enemy ships. Sparks and debris flew everywhere, and the valley seemed to tremble under the power of her presence. Minutes stretched into hours. Thalira's strength was incredible, but even she could not hold back the entire fleet alone. Kale studied the data, searching for a solution. Then he noticed something unusual in the scanning readings. One of the scavenger ships emitted a unique energy signature, weak and unstable compared to the others. "I see it," Kale shouted. "There's one ship that carries the energy core controlling the others. If we disable it, the fleet will lose coordination." Thalira nodded, understanding immediately. With a burst of speed, she soared toward the weak ship, dodging beams and maneuvering through a storm of debris. The ship fired desperately, but her energy shield was strong enough to absorb the attacks. Reaching the ship, she smashed into it with her tail. The ship's energy core sparked and exploded, sending a shockwave across the fleet. The other scavenger ships faltered, their formations breaking apart as they scrambled to retreat. Kale exhaled with relief. It worked. "The fleet is retreating." Thalira landed heavily, wings folding around her as she surveyed the damage. Crystals in the valley were shattered, and dust floated in the air like tiny stars. But they had survived. Zithuria was safe for now. Kale approached, wiping sweat from his brow. "You did it," he said. "Your strength and courage saved the planet, but we can't stop here. The amplification process must continue. If we fail to stabilize your energy fully, your species could still be at risk." Thalira's golden eyes glimmered with determination. "Then we continue. The scavengers may return, but I will be ready. Zithuria will not fall, and my people will not be forgotten." They spent the rest of the day repairing the machines and strengthening the energy barriers. Kale took careful notes, learning from Thalira's natural instincts and movements. Together, they refined the process, making it safer and more effective. As night fell, the twin moons rose, casting pale light across the valley. Thalira perched atop a crystal spire, looking out over her world. She thought of her ancestors, of the dragon women who had soared through the skies, protecting Zithuria and exploring the stars. And she thought of the future, her species, not yet gone, waiting to rise again. Kale joined her silently, gazing at the horizon. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "we begin the final phase. If it succeeds, Zithuria's future will change forever." Thalira nodded. "I am ready. No matter the challenge, no matter the danger, we will see this through." The wind carried her words across the valley, stirring the crystals and echoing in the mountains. Somewhere beyond the stars, the scavengers plotted their return, unaware that Zithuria had a guardian stronger than they could imagine. A dragon woman with courage, wisdom, and the help of a human who understood the value of life. For the first time in centuries, hope was alive on Zithuria. The battle was far from over, but Thalira was no longer alone. And as long as she and Kale worked together, no force in the galaxy could stop them from protecting her world and ensuring her species survived. The crystal valley of Zithuria was quiet that morning, the twin suns reflecting off the shattered fragments from the previous day. Battle. Thalira perched atop a jagged cliff, her wings folded but alert, eyes scanning the horizon. She could feel the residual energy from the machines pulsing beneath her, waiting. Today would be the most important day of her long life. Kale was already working at the base of the valley, surrounded by the advanced devices he had brought. The amplification machines glowed softly, waiting to respond to Thalira's energy. He looked up as she approached. "Are you ready?" he asked calmly. Thalira flexed her claws, feeling the familiar hum of Zithuria's life force coursing through her. "I am ready. Whatever happens, we finish this today. My species' survival depends on it." Kale nodded. "Good. The final phase is more complex than anything we've tried. It will combine your energy with stabilized growth matrices that can support the emergence of new life safely. The process is entirely scientific, but it requires your full focus." Thalira lowered herself into the central chamber Kale had prepared. The floor shimmered with energy, and the walls reflected her scales in 1,000 colors. Kale adjusted the devices, making fine calibrations to match her unique energy patterns. "Concentrate on Zithuria," Kale instructed. "Draw energy from yourself and from the planet. Focus it into the matrices. The machines will guide the energy, stabilizing it and preparing it for new life." Thalira closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. She reached inward, connecting with the core of her being, the pulse of Zithuria beneath her claws, and the memories of her ancestors. The valley seemed to respond. Crystals trembled, flowers glowed, and the very air vibrated with anticipation. Kale monitored the readings, his fingers moving swiftly across controls. "The energy is flowing perfectly," he said. "The matrices are stabilizing. Keep it steady, Thalira. This is the critical moment." Hours passed. Thalira maintained the connection, feeling the raw power of her body and the planet combine. Her wings twitched with effort, and her golden eyes glimmered with energy. She could sense the matrices absorbing her life force, transforming it into something new, something that could grow and flourish. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A warning signal blared from Kale's devices. "Scanners indicate incoming energy interference," he shouted. "The scavenger fleet is returning, stronger this time." Thalira tensed, her body glowing with amplified energy. "They will not stop me," she roared. Her wings lifted her into the air, and she unleashed a wave of energy toward the sky, dispersing a portion of the fleet's approach. The larger ships faltered, but more were coming, moving quickly and strategically. Kale's hands flew over the controls. "The amplification process cannot be interrupted. We need to protect the valley and stabilize the matrices simultaneously. Focus your energy on both." Thalira narrowed her eyes. She had fought waves of enemies before, but this was different. She was not only defending herself, she was protecting the future of her species. Every instinct, every memory, every ounce of strength flowed through her as she projected controlled energy pulses toward the attacking ships. Sparks flew as her power collided with theirs, sending the smaller vessels tumbling into the valley cliffs. Despite her strength, the fleet adapted quickly. A large vessel fired a beam directly at the chamber where the matrices were held. Kale shouted, "Move the energy dome!" He activated the protective barrier, but the ship's firepower strained the system. The matrices wavered, energy fluctuations threatening to destabilize the entire process. Thalira reacted instinctively. She dived toward the ship, her massive claws extended. With a powerful strike, she crushed its energy core, causing a chain reaction that disabled half of the fleet in a single burst. The remaining ships scattered, their coordination broken. Kale breathed a sigh of relief. "That should give us enough time to finish," he shouted over the hum of the machines. "Keep focusing." Thalira returned to the chamber, landing with a powerful thud. Her energy surged through the matrices once more. The valley glowed, crystals resonating with the amplified power, and the stabilized matrices began to glow from within, a soft, warm light indicating the growth of new life. Kale adjusted the final controls. "We are almost there. Thalira, your focus must remain absolute. Visualize the continuation of your species. Feel it. Protect it." Thalira closed her eyes. She saw visions of the dragon women soaring across Zithuria's skies, their scales glinting in the twin suns' light. She felt their courage, their wisdom, their connection to the planet. She poured all of her energy into the matrices, guiding it gently, carefully, ensuring stability. Minutes felt like hours, but finally the hum of the machines softened. The matrices glowed steadily, vibrant and alive. Kale checked the readings. "It's complete," he said quietly, awe in his voice. "Your energy has successfully stabilized. Life is ready to grow." Thalira stepped back, wings folding around her as she watched the valley. Tiny pulses of energy rose from the matrices, each one a spark of life waiting to bloom. She could feel it, her species not gone, not lost, beginning again. Kale approached her, a smile on his face. "You did it, Thalira. Your species will survive because of your courage, strength, and wisdom, and because you trusted me to help." Thalira nodded, eyes bright with emotion. "I never imagined it could happen. After so long, I thought all hope was lost. But now I see the future." The valley was peaceful once more. The scavenger fleet had retreated, unable to overcome Thalira's power and Kale's strategy. Zithuria's skies were clear, and the energy of life pulsed through the crystals and the soil. The twin suns set, casting long shadows, and the valley glowed with the promise of a new era. Kale placed a hand on Thalira's massive forearm. "This is only the beginning. The new life will need guidance, protection, and care. But with you here, I know it will thrive." Thalira lowered her head thoughtfully. "I will remain. I will watch over Zithuria and my people. I will teach them, protect them, and ensure they remember their history. This planet is our home, and I will not let it fall again." Kale nodded. "And I will stay as your ally. Together, we will face whatever challenges come next." The two of them stood in silence, gazing at the valley where the matrices pulsed with energy. Life was returning to Zithuria, stronger and more resilient than before. The dragon woman who had once thought herself alone now had a future, not just for herself, but for her entire species. As night fell and the twin moons rose, Thalira spread her wings and took to the skies, soaring above the valley. The stars reflected in her golden eyes, and she felt a joy she had not known for centuries. Somewhere deep in the mountains, new life stirred, tiny sparks ready to grow into the dragon women of the future. Kale watched from below, his heart filled with respect and awe. Humanity had sent explorers to many worlds, but few had encountered beings like Thalira, creatures of immense power, courage, and wisdom. He realized that the true strength of life in the universe came not from machines or technology alone, but from the heart, spirit, and determination of living beings. Thalira returned to the plateau, landing gracefully. "The future is safe for now," she said. Her golden eyes reflected the soft light of the moons. "But we must always be vigilant. Zithuria is precious and life is fragile. We must protect it." Kale nodded. "Agreed, and we will, together." For the first time in centuries, Thalira felt hope not as a distant dream, but as a tangible reality. The dragon women would soar again, Zithuria would thrive, and life, resilient, brilliant, and unstoppable, would continue across the galaxy. And somewhere in the stars beyond Zithuria, other civilizations watched, perhaps learning that courage, intelligence, and cooperation could achieve what force alone could never accomplish. Months had passed since Thalira and Kale had completed the final phase of the experiment. Zithuria's Crystal Valley, once broken and scarred, now pulsed with vibrant life. Tiny energy sparks from the matrices had grown into glowing seedlings, delicate yet full of promise. Each spark was a new beginning, a future for the dragon women of Zithuria. Thalira stood atop a cliff, her golden eyes scanning the valley below. She had grown taller and stronger, her scales shimmering like molten gold in the morning light. Though she was alone of her original generation, she felt an unusual peace. For the first time in centuries, she knew that her people's legacy would continue. Kale approached silently, holding a device that monitored the growth of the new life. "They are developing quickly," he said, awe in his voice. "The energy patterns are stable, and they are responding to Zithuria's environment. Your species, your people, are thriving." Thalira lowered her massive head, a rare smile flickering across her face. "They are small now, but one day they will soar across these skies just as we did. I can feel it in my heart. Zithuria will not die. My ancestors would be proud." Kale nodded, watching the valley come alive. "And your courage, determination, and guidance have made this possible. Without you, none of this could have happened." Thalira flexed her claws thoughtfully. "I did what I had to do, but I could not have done it alone. You were a friend, a teacher, and a partner in this endeavor. I am grateful." Kale smiled. "And I am grateful as well. You have shown me that life is not just about survival. It is about hope, resilience, and the willingness to fight for what matters. Humanity can learn from beings like you." Suddenly, a soft glow appeared in the valley. From the matrices emerged the first tiny forms of dragon women, delicate but radiant. They shimmered with energy, their scales catching the twin suns, light in brilliant flashes. Thalira felt a surge of emotion, pride, relief, and a deep connection to these tiny versions of her people. "They are beautiful," Kale whispered. "Alive because of you." Thalira's tail swept across the cliff in a gentle arc. "They will learn, grow, and become stronger than I could ever be. They will explore, protect, and cherish Zithuria. This is the true reward." Over the next days, Thalira guided the newborn dragon women, teaching them how to control their energy, fly, and interact safely with Zithuria's unique ecosystem. Kale worked alongside her, providing technological support, monitoring their growth, and ensuring their safety. Together, they formed a partnership that combined natural strength and human ingenuity. However, the challenges were far from over. The scavenger fleet had not forgotten Zithuria. Though weakened and humiliated, they continued to lurk in nearby star systems, searching for any opportunity to seize the planet's energy. Thalira and Kale knew that vigilance would always be necessary. One afternoon, as the twin suns shone brightly, Kale scanned the skies. "Sensors detect movement in orbit," he said calmly. "But it is different this time. Smaller ships, they are observing, not attacking. Perhaps they have learned caution." Thalira folded her wings, her golden eyes narrowed. "Let them watch. Zithuria is protected now, not by fear, but by life itself. My people are growing, and we are ready for whatever comes." Weeks turned into months. The dragon women grew rapidly, learning to fly, harness their energy, and explore the crystal mountains. They were curious, intelligent, and resilient, much like their ancestor. Under Thalira's guidance, they began to build nests, explore the skies, and interact with Zithuria's unique flora and fauna. Kale observed with amazement. "They are adapting faster than I expected," he said. "Their energy patterns are harmonious and their intelligence is remarkable. You have truly preserved a species capable of thriving in this galaxy." Thalira's voice rumbled with pride. "It is their own courage and curiosity that will carry them forward. I merely guided them. The true strength comes from within each of them." One evening, as the twin suns set and the skies turned deep violet, Thalira and Kale perched on a high cliff, overlooking the valley alive with young dragon women. The air shimmered with energy, a symphony of life that spread across the land. Kale spoke softly. "Do you ever think about how far you've come? From being the last of your kind to watching a new generation flourish?" Thalira's eyes glimmered with the reflection of the valley below. "I do. Every moment of struggle, every battle, every day of loneliness led me to this. I have learned that life is strongest when we do not give up, even when all seems lost. I have learned that hope is a force more powerful than any weapon." Kale nodded. "And together, we've proven that courage and cooperation can achieve the impossible. Life is stronger than destruction. That is a lesson the galaxy must remember." As the moons rose, Thalira felt the presence of her ancestors in the wind, their whispers mingling with the hum of Zithuria. They had once soared the skies, explored the stars, and protected this planet. Now, through her efforts and Kale's guidance, their legacy continued. The young dragon women flew past them, practicing dives, loops, and coordinated flights. Their energy glowed bright, reflecting the twin moons above. Thalira felt a swell of pride and hope. Zithuria was alive, her species would survive. And the universe, vast and unpredictable, would never forget the courage of those who fought for life. Days turned into weeks, and soon the dragon women were independent, exploring far beyond the valley, discovering hidden crystal forests, and mastering their energy abilities. Thalira continued to watch over them, ready to intervene if necessary, but confident in their strength. Kale documented everything, sending knowledge across the stars, a record of survival, courage, and ingenuity. The scavenger fleet eventually gave up, deterred not only by Thalira's strength but by the visible rise of a new, thriving species. Zithuria's energy was no longer unguarded or vulnerable. Life had taken root, strong and resilient. One morning, Thalira and Kale stood on the highest peak of Zithuria, looking out over the glowing valley. The young dragon women soared in the skies, exploring, laughing with energy and living. It was a sight that would have been unimaginable just months before. Kale turned to Thalira. "Do you think they will ever forget what we did here?" Thalira smiled faintly. "They will not forget. They will carry it forward in their courage, their strength, and their wisdom. Zithuria will thrive because life always finds a way, and because hope can never be extinguished." The twin suns rose higher, and Thalira stretched her wings, ready to join the young dragon women in flight. Kale followed with his equipment, both of them moving together, guardians of life, witnesses to a new dawn. For the first time in centuries, Thalira did not feel the weight of loneliness. She felt connected to her ancestors, to the new generation, and to the universe itself. Zithuria was alive, thriving, and full of hope. And as long as life endured, so too would courage, resilience, and the determination to protect what mattered most. The wind carried the whispers of 100 future generations, the valley glowed with energy, and the stars above shimmered with possibility. The last of the dragon women had become the first of a new age, proving that even in the darkest moments, life could prevail. And so Zithuria flourished. The dragon women soared through the skies once more, stronger, wiser, and united. Kale remained as an ally, a witness, and a friend, ensuring that the knowledge of survival and hope would spread across the galaxy. The story of Thalira, the dragon woman who refused to give up, and Kale, the human who believed in her, would be remembered forever, not as a tale of despair, but as a testament to the power of courage, intelligence, and the unbreakable spirit of life itself. A new dawn had arrived for Zithuria, and with it, the promise of a future filled with hope, discovery, and the endless possibilities of the universe.